Howdy everyone, how's it going? It's Matt here, of course, with my buddy Kolan. We figured we might as well just do a little bit of a fun video. I plan to leave this pretty raw and unedited, so I will first apologize for any profanity that you may hear from Kolan during this video, but I'm not going to take the time to beep things out. So anyway, he's going to try and rein in it a little bit, but there might be some coarse language here and there sprinkled about. We just shot the match and we have a long drive ahead of us, so we figured we'd do a fun little video post-match debrief. Kolan here has been kind of highlighted in some match videos before, but I figured if you want to just do a quick little intro about who you are in the shooting world, if you don't mind.
Sure. So I'm Kolan. I've been shooting for about 2 years. I actually started in Rimfire Precision the exact same time Matt did. We shot our first match together. We were just actually looking back in practice score. January of 2020 was our first ORPS match in Stittsville.
That's right.
And I think we both have somewhere between 40 and 50 matches under our belt since then. So it's been a lot of fun getting into the sport. And
heck of a time, yeah.
So yeah, it's we just wrapped up the third NRS match of the year.
Second for me.
Third
third of the season. That's right. Yeah. So at our very first match in 2020, January, we both started at the same time, and now we are still going strong, trying to shoot all the matches we possibly can, basically.
Yeah.
And so today's match was pretty awesome. It was the Insite Arms Steel Challenge, I believe is what it's called, in Mount Bridges. We just had dinner in Guelph, and we're on our way back to Ottawa. So I guess let's just do a general day overview first. So I'll start.
Yeah.
I thought, first off, the venue was awesome. It reminded me of Magnetawan in many ways. The sort of layout of the field is very similar and the terrain, but it's not as long of a firing line. Beautiful weather is 20 degrees Celsius, perfect weather. Not too cloudy or sunny, and switchy winds. I think that was the most difficult thing today.
Yeah, it was kind of a mixed venue, right? A little bit like Magnetawan, but kind of reminiscent of the bean match last year, shooting over growing crops. So it was a really nice venue, but definitely some challenging switchy headwind throughout the entire day.
And I know I like to complain about wind a lot, but when I say it was switchy today, it was real switchy. Some guys were holding the same hold and having their shots go off left and right in the same stage. So it was pretty switchy, and the magnitude of the wind was also pretty strong. So it wasn't just a little switch. It was blow you completely off one side or the other. But it was good. It was challenging. We shot pretty well, I would say.
Yeah.
You were, what, 7th?
Yeah, I finished 7th, which is my best finish at a big match overall, so I was really happy with how I shot today, and Matt humbly took second place.
Yeah, so I was pumped because we'll do basically a stage debrief of all the stages in a second, but how my day started, I was pretty distraught after my first 2 stages. I thought I was kind of out of the running. I dropped 8 points in the first 2 stages, so mentally I was all over the place.
Yeah.
But I finished, and I actually got second overall, so I was very happy with that. Definitely surprised, especially given the wind conditions as well. I felt like I was really struggling on some stages. But this is also my best finish at a NRS match. So today was a good day for both of us. We're pretty pumped.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about gear?
Yeah,
before we
get
into the overview?
I'll let you start.
Yeah, so today I was shooting my CZ 457. It started its life as a 457 LRP. When I bought it, I had convinced myself that it was perfect and I would never change anything about it.
As we all do.
And it quickly evolved. So it's a CZ 457 in a MDT ACC chassis with Athlon Cronus BTR Gen 2 scope. And for ammo, I was shooting Ely Sport. I lucked out and got a fantastic lot of Ely that I was able to secure quite a volume of, and I've been having good success with it for like a season and a bit now. So
yeah. Yeah, when we buy ammo, like we buy it by the cases because we shoot quite a bit.
Yeah.
We basically, once we find that magic lot, we like to make sure we have enough, right? Like we don't want to keep lot testing every few months. It's just a pain. So yeah, his lot of sport shoots really well. The SDs are like around 5 consistently.
Yeah, SDs of 5 and an ES like around 12. So
can't ask for much better than that.
Can't complain at all.
Yeah. Well, here, out of curiosity, do you have like a rule of thumb for what you look for in an ammo to be match worthy?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a ton of experience, but I've sort of taken a lead from a few of the guys. You know, that sort of SDs under 10, ES under 20 seems to be, seems to be working. So that's sort of the numbers I look for when I crony a new lot of ammo. Anything over 10. Good practice ammo, but under 10 is what I'm looking for as an SD for match ammo.
Yeah, that's a good. I'm in the same ballpark as well. Under like 8 is really good, but I find most, especially SK ammo, most of the match stuff will have SDs from 6 to 10 normally anyway, and that's good to go. I'll shoot that at a match all day. I'm also not too worried about groups at 50. I know some guys demand single hold groups all day long, but honestly, if it holds half an inch at 50, I'm good to go.
I don't worry about one hole groups either. Yeah,
that's awesome. In terms of what barricade bags and stuff do you use?
Oh, I exclusively use the KevFat bag to the Arca mounted bag, the collab between Matt and Kevin from a year or so ago.
Yes, sir.
And I do also have a Womfat bag that
basically just a normal barricade.
Yeah, essentially a normal barricade bag. Other than that, I don't use anything fancy. I did pull out the tripod a couple of times as rear support today, and the couple of stages that I used a bipod. At the first NRS match this year, managed to score a coupon for an Atlas bipod.
Nice.
So I picked one of those up this year. And have
upgrade
that
from your Amazon.
From my Amazon like JB Weld creation that admittedly served me quite well until now, but definitely a huge difference in its rigidity and just feels stronger,
even
feels
just
better.
Deploying the legs is way easier
than
the Chinese
totally.
knockoff. I had one of those cheap Chinese knockoff Atlases on my AR back in the day.
Yep.
And it's night and day. Definitely worth the money.
Yep.
I mean, the real one's worth the money, not the cheap one.
That's right.
All right, so my gear for the day was, as per usual, a Voodoo 360, 20-inch ace barrel, 1 and 16-inch twist, MTU profile, tuna can on the front. He also has a tuna can, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
However, speaking of tuna cans, I know some people swear by tuners, and I'm not saying they don't do anything, but I've brought mine out to test once. I found it really doesn't affect the MTU barrel much at all, so I have it there purely for forward weight and balance.
Yeah, I had a similar experience with mine. I have the 20-inch fluted barrel that comes with the LRP. I saw a little bit of a tightening of my group when I was doing some testing, but it serves much more utility as a 1 pound forward weight for balance than I've really appreciated in terms of group changes at all.
Anyway, going back to my rifle, optics is the Minox 5-25 by 56 LR, which I really like the optic, but there's a couple things. First off, the reticle line thickness is a little bit thin for me. I can shoot with it fine, but even today, in some of the grass, when the background is really busy, the reticle gets lost. Because the line thickness is really fine. I shoot at 15 times power almost exclusively these days for all matches. And the line thickness could be thicker for my preference, but besides that, I absolutely love the scope. It's really nice. Check out Go Big Tactical for all your precision rifle needs. I'm sponsored. No, but it is a fantastic scope. And what else? Trigger on my Voodoo is a Diamond from Trigger Tech, of course, single stage, set to about 12 ounces. And what else?
Chassis
KRG Whiskey 3, which I absolutely love. The only complaint I have about the Whiskey 3 is the forend is a bit short. I have a 12-inch Arca rail on it, and it does protrude out a little bit to give me a little bit extra room. But that's really the only thing I don't like about the Whiskey 3. So I'm patiently waiting for the new C4 to come out, which hopefully I'll get my hands on, when it's available. But besides that, I love the Whiskey 3. So.
Is there adjustable weight options for the whiskey?
So there are some weighted accessories you can buy for the forend, but in terms of when you compare it to what I would say are like the new generation chassis, like the ACC and like the XLRs and all that stuff, it's not as tunable, essentially.
Are you running any added weight on yours then?
Not.
Okay.
Actually, so some people have asked me why I changed to the Whiskey 3 because I had the MPA on the Voodoo originally. Right. It's because the Whiskey 3 buttstock, it's the lightest out of the ACC and MPA. So when you put a rimfire action in it, it bounces a lot easier forward. And then with the tuna can on the very front of it and the heavy MTU profile barrel, it's like perfectly balanced for my liking without having to add more weights on the front of it. I'm a pretty small guy, I got like spaghetti arms, so any offhand stages I gotta make sure like 18 pounds is my max for offhand. If I have any potential of being offhand with a rifle, 18 pounds is my cap.
Yeah, well we've seen in some of your video footage me struggling offhand with my ACC running. I think I'm running 2 or 3 internal weights and 2 sets of external weights, plus.
Sorry, some bad driving in front of us, man.
So I think 2 or 3 internal weights, 2 sets of externals, plus the tuna can, and actually I had to swap out the butt plate to the aluminum milled butt plate.
That is a little known hack because the ACC comes standard with a steel
one
butt plate.
But if you reach out to MDT. Through their like customer support, and they can hook you up with an aluminum piece that you can swap out.
It saves like a pound off the back of it.
It really helps with the rimfire actions that are notoriously hard to balance. They're quite rear heavy or forward light, I guess, is really the issue.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, both our rigs work fantastically. Like, I came from the 457 in an ACC as well. I like to say everyone copied me.
Yeah.
But I was never out shooting that rifle.
No.
I went to the Voodoo just to try and see how a custom high-end action felt. And granted, I love it. Like, I wouldn't go back for my main match rifle. But the CZ is a fantastic rifle. I recommend it all the time for any price range, basically.
Yeah.
Unless you really want that 700 footprint and you want something like, custom, just go 457 because it's amazingly reliable.
Yeah, I've never had like any issues, like no fiddling with mags, there's no fiddling with tuning anything. It just put it in the chassis,
it just works.
Put the mag in and just shoot the gun, and it's serving me well, so.
Yeah, so today's match was awesome. Thanks to Adam, of course. He runs these matches so clean. You know exactly what to expect when you get there. Usually we're finishing these NRS matches now like 3 or 4, so great timing. Gives us guys who drive quite a ways to these matches some time to get home at a decent time, which is much appreciated. And again, the venue was amazing. So anyway, you want to do stage breakdown?
Yeah, why don't we start breaking down?
Yeah, we're going to just go one by one and talk about the stages, what worked, what didn't. Because some things definitely didn't work today.
Yeah, for sure. So out of, for me, a bit of superstition, I always squad 2, which usually lands us starting on stage 2 or 3. Yeah. So today we started on stage 2, which was titled Beaver Hunt. So it was a 2-target stage. One of them was a mover, which is always, a really unique and fun target to shoot at. It just adds an element that you don't see at every match. Yeah. So that was a lot of fun. So it was the mover at 195, and then there was a static beaver on a T-post at 158, and we were kind of shooting off of a log that had sort of a vertical piece to it, so it was kind of a prone off of a log, transition to this sort of high kneeling or bent over at the waist vertical piece to the log, and then finally position 3 was sort of an in-between on the horizontal part of the log.
These targets for the stage were quite large. They were basically like a life-size beaver, what you would expect. But I didn't do, well, how about this? Let's start, how did you prepare for the stage?
Yeah, so the mover is always a tricky thing, right? Because I've shot some matches where the mover speed is published in the course of fire, but not usually. So the first sort of thing to figure out is to try to mill out the speed at which the mover is traveling left to right.
And we were really lucky today because someone on our squad had that Bushnell spotter with
a mill reticle,
which is really nice for movers. Obviously, there's a rule you can't look at targets through your scope when you're not shooting.
Right.
So to prepare for that, having a reticle in a spotting scope was huge. Yeah, is really good. So I measured the movement to be approximately 3 mils per second.
Yeah, and then Strelok or like really any ballistic calculator worth its salt will have a mover function built into it. Yeah. And so we plugged in the movement, and that kind of gave us our lead for the set distance of 195. So I think we were getting a calculated lead of like 1.7 mils or so, which gives you your lead. It doesn't account for wind at all.
Exactly. So that's your lead, dead center of target, assuming that it has your correct velocity and distance.
Yeah, correct. Yeah,
and target velocity, obviously.
Yeah. So back to your question about like how did I prep for that? So that was my like big focus. Getting set up for that stage was determining what my lead on the mover was going to be. Like Matt said, like the other beaver, the static beaver at 158 was a pretty generous target. The wind was a little bit switchy, but it was first thing in the morning, so it hadn't really picked up yet, and really wasn't much of a factor in our prep. So However, that was the big one. Movers
with wind is difficult because you gotta add and subtract the wind call depending on what side it's moving to.
So that was.
You did well. You did 10. I think.
Yeah. I dropped 2 shots, both on the mover. And was able to, but once I got that lead figured out and sort of judging the distance, so how many shots could I reasonably get off in like one run of the mover from left to right,
just probably 2 or 3.
Yeah, so I was able to get 3 shots off. So I think I missed my first engagement on the mover, but was able to spot the trace. The way the sun was coming up behind the firing line made it really easy to spot your bullet flight, and so I was able to quickly see that I was just ahead of it, so I took a little bit of lead off and was able to connect from there. So it was a great start for me. 10 out of 12
on a mover
first thing in the morning.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that was pretty good. How did you fare out on that one, Matt?
So I got 8 of 12, I remember, because I dropped 4 points, and 8 of 12 isn't bad. Like, I wasn't disappointed at the time, but it wasn't as good as I had hoped, especially because the target size was generous, and I had kind of prepared well for the stage. Like, I thought I was going to do a bit better. Now, the mover I really struggle with the mover because I like to do, I think it's called there's 2 different ways.
Trapping it or leading it?
Yeah, so I trap it. Like, I hold my reticle still and I let it move into it.
Right.
But I still struggle sometimes, like, breaking the shot at the perfect time. And I couldn't see trace because I have the Tacticam on my scope, which is great for video footage. Unfortunately, it does degrade the scope quality that I seek by a substantial amount, and I very rarely see trace or the bullet flight with the Tacticam on my scope, unfortunately, as good as the Minox glass is. So I wasn't really seeing what edge I was missing off of, so that was quite frustrating. So I dropped, the 4 points I dropped, I think were all the mover. No. And I was a little bit bummed, but I wasn't too out of it yet. But that was the first stage of the day, so it was okay. Like, I wasn't too actually, one of the newer shooters on our squad cleaned it, which was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But I've never cleaned a mover stage to date, I don't think. I do think this was the furthest the mover has ever been at an NRS match, because I think they've been around 160, 170 before.
That's right.
And so this was almost at 200 yards, so it was a little different for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was stage 1?
Yeah, that was stage 2, but our first stage of the day. So, and then moving on to stage 3. So this one was titled "Gotta Be Fast," and this was off of a tank trap at a single 8-inch diamond target at 144, and it was one shot
12 positions.
12 positions, so starting on the tips and going kind of clockwise and then down to the saddle of the tank trap.
Do that 3
and
times?
do that 3 times, yeah, a total of 12 rounds. So lots of movement, and the wind became a little bit more, so that target was on a taller T-post above the crop. And so it was kind of like out and subject to the wind a little bit more, where the mover on the previous stage was in a cut section like off the side of the crop. And so I think it was actually kind of sheltered from the wind a little bit. So yeah, you really had to get your wind. And as shooters went through it, I don't know if you noticed, the tank trap like started squatting lower to the point where shooting from the saddle, you could almost not see the target depending what kind of bag configuration you used.
Yeah.
So this is where the WOMFAT KevFat combo served me really well, because I put that sort of standard barricade bag down into the saddle and then rested my my Arca mounted bag on top, which gave me just enough height to be able to see sort of the top third of the target, and was able to connect. And I actually only dropped 1 shot on. I dropped my first shot on that, and that was an overzealous wind call on my part. But
so
again,
you got 11 of 12?
I got 11 of 12 on that one.
That's really good. So,
and again, I was able to spot trace really well and pick up the wind call and correct from there. So
yeah, I feel like the wind actually picked up quite early in the day. Like basically at the second stage on the tank trap, that's when the wind started to become a factor for a lot of guys. So my second stage wasn't as great, unfortunately. And this is when I realized that I was having the same issues as last week, where my body just couldn't settle down. I don't know what it is, but the last 2 matches I've shot, I build a nice solid position, everything is good, but I'm on target and my reticle just can't settle down for some reason. Like I could feel it in my legs, it felt like jello. So that was really disappointing. I dropped another four shots, so first 2 stages of the day I'm down 8 points. And if you want to be competitive, you can't be dropping points like that at these matches throughout the day, obviously. So after the second stage, I was actually pretty peeved at myself. I didn't even do a debrief when I'm really pissed off. Usually I do a post-stage debrief on camera, but Dory went up to me to do it. I told her, I'm not in the right mindset for it. So I was pretty angry at myself after dropping eight shots in the first 2 stages, which is pretty brutal. But my problem, I think, besides just being unstable, was the wind was kind of playing mind games with me as well. But once I had the wind call, after maybe my first or second miss, I should have just been nailing it, but the issues with getting behind the rifle and steadying up is what ate away at me. So after that stage, I basically made a conscious decision to use the tripod as much as I could, because the thing about matches is, honestly, like 80 or 90% of your performance is how well you mentally manage yourself and your weaknesses for that day. So if you know something's not working for you, you need to make sure that you're aware of it and that you play to your advantage. Yeah. So for this whole day, I knew I wasn't going to get steady behind the rifle. I don't know why, it just was my thing. So to help compensate for that, my saving grace was that tripod, because without that, I would not have done as well. And I'm fine to admit it. Like, I need to work on my fundamentals and stuff.
Yeah.
But luckily, I know how to, kind of play the cards that are dealt to me.
Yeah, we've been talking as a group a lot about like the mental management, and I think that's really at the top of like all of our like goals this year is to really focus on mental management and not getting in our own heads. I know I had a terrible like mental collapse at Avonmore.
Oh, Avonmore.
At Avonmore.
Yeah.
With 3 stages left in the day, I made the fatal mistake of going and looking at our squad scores to see how I was stacking up against my squad mates after 7 stages.
Yep.
And actually noticed in doing that, I was like 1 point behind Matt, and had like a casual conversation, and you had made the comment like, oh, there's no way I'm in the running. I'm not, the headwind was really twitchy there too. And that kind of like threw me. I was like, well, if Matt's out and I'm behind him, then I'm out.
I didn't say that to throw you off, but I
no, you didn't. No.
Yeah.
But I like that in my own head. I was like, okay, well, if Matt doesn't feel like he's shooting well, if I'm behind him, then I must be out too. Yeah. And you ended up winning that match. And I placed okay, but I wasn't that many points behind you, and I just feel like
here's the thing, it's not over till it's over.
That's it.
Today,
yeah.
I honestly thought it was over after the 2 stages. He
Yeah.
drops 4 points in the first, both stages. So the thing is, you got to keep fighting. If you start the day off horribly, you got to do your best to push it out of your mind, and you can sulk about it. Everyone has their grieving period for some lost points, but you got to just laser focus back into it. I really worked hard to do that, and it worked out today, right? Like I fought my way back, ending second. I'm really stoked for that, to be honest. Like I'm very happy with the way it ended out, and as you'll hear later, I was killing some stages. So yeah.
Nice. So then the next stage was stage 4, titled Holds Only, and this was the tiebreaker stage, as well as the sponsored stage. So the winner of person who scored the best in the shortest amount of time, I think won a Insite Arms barrel tuner for a Voodoo, I think was the
I don't
prize.
know what makes it specifically for a Voodoo.
Yeah, I'm not really sure either, but
it's a barrel tuner.
I think
cool.
Andre picked that up off
Andre
pretty awesome score. So this one was it was off of some vertical pipes that were in the back of a trailer, and then the kind of catch to this one was you could touch your scope up until you sent your first shot, and then you couldn't touch your scope again. So that was no magnification adjustment, no parallax adjustment, and no elevation adjustment. So holdovers only, and so really important to start off with your scope set properly and know what your progressive holdovers were going to be to walk your way out to. So that was 3 targets, 6-inch diamond at 145, an 8-inch diamond at 175, and then a 12-inch circle at 207. So
and a lot of props after our second stage were propped up on like planks and stuff because
above
the crops grew
yeah.
so high. So this one was propped up on a trailer, so we were kind of confined to the trailer space. And I remember looking at that and being like, I really want to use the tripod, but I don't know if the footprint is going to fit on that. But I didn't want to risk dropping more unnecessary points, so I didn't fully extend my tripod all the way, because the higher you deploy it, the wider the base gets.
That's right.
So I had it like maybe 75% deployed, and I managed to fit it on the trailer. And I think I only dropped 1 point, so this was kind of like the start of my recovery. So I was happy about that. I either cleaned it or dropped 1 point, but definitely know how to use your holdovers, obviously. I think besides that, it wasn't too tricky in terms of engagement, right? It was just
it was just near to far.
Yeah, okay.
And then alternating between 2 pipes.
Yeah.
I think I dropped 1 on this stage as well.
Did you use the tripod?
I did use the tripod, and just that Arca mounted bag off the edge of the pipe, and I think I did it in a pretty decent time too, like just over a minute, I think.
Okay, yeah, I think mine was like 80 seconds, so I took longer. But again, this was my recovery stage. So when I bomb a stage, I will make sure that my next stage, or hopefully, I concentrate on everything and I don't rush it. So even though this was the time stage,
weren't worried about
because of what already happened, I told myself, you got to focus and just take your time to make the shots that count. So that's basically what I tried to do that stage.
Nice. And then,
by the way, Andre's time to win that stage was under a minute, so he was flying.
Yeah, he was
flying.
like
57 seconds or something like that.
And he cleaned it.
So that's impressive.
Yeah, well done. Next stage, stage 5, titled Chicken Crap, which when we first got the course of fire at the hotel last night,
we were like,
why is it called Chicken Crap?
Yeah.
And then we showed up, and yesterday, I guess one of the local farmers had dropped off like 2 giant trailer loads of chicken crap.
Yeah,
literal chicken crap in a massive pile in the field. And of course the headwind was like right in our face,
got a good
wafting over this pile of crap.
Our wind calls were based on how strongly we could smell the chicken.
Yeah, for sure. So this one was I don't even remember. It was a 6-inch diamond and a 6-inch circle, 136 and 164 yards. And was this one off the spools?
No, that was elevated. This one was off the. Oh gosh, this is it. we literally.
Oh no, this was the like spinning horizontal pipe.
Yeah. Okay. So that barricade is actually pretty cool. There's a big long like corrugated pipe, but it was suspended by a 2x4, so it could roll, sort of rock forward and back as you were on it.
That's right.
So I remember this stage now. So in preparing for it, we saw that the barricade could move with the squad shooting it before us. And there's two ways you can approach this. You can try and go normal mode, kind of lean into it so you kind of take the movement out. Yeah. Or you can put your rifle down and not touch it to hopefully just settle down by itself. Again, I wanted to use a tripod for everything I could today, so I took the risk in using the tripod, and in my mind I wasn't sure if the front was going to move too much, but once you're on this tripod, there's no reason for the front to move because you're locked in at the back, and the front is just rested on whatever it's resting on. Yeah. So as soon as you're pointed in the right direction for your target, you're rock solid. So luckily, I kind of overcame the movement of the barricade by just using a tripod, which just kind of worked out. But I took the risk because I was the first one to shoot it. No, I was one of the first shooters, but I was definitely the first one to shoot with a tripod. So,
yeah, I used the tripod as well for this one.
I can't. You saw that it worked.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was the advantage of shooting after you, is I could see when you fumbled with the tripod and I didn't want to touch it, and when you did well with it, I was like, I give that a go.
Yeah, so I cleaned that stage, which was nice. So this was the start of shooting better.
This was the beginning of your recovery.
Yeah.
I don't remember what I got on that stage. I think I might have dropped one or two.
But it wasn't bad or great.
It wasn't. I didn't clean it and I didn't bomb it. Yeah. It went pretty well.
Also, just to kind of put it into perspective, first off, when you're trying to be competitive in this sport, our sort of not requirements, but our expectations are higher. If you're a beginner watching this, you'd be like, wow, these guys are complaining about dropping a few shots here and there. It's because we're trying to do as best as possible.
Well, yeah.
When we first started, we could not care less where on the scoreboard we're just having fun. And honestly, that's what it's about. If you're not having fun, don't shoot.
Yeah, don't bother.
There's no point.
Yeah, there's like fun in the competitiveness of it now that we've gotten to this point.
Exactly.
But like, to put it in perspective, like Grant won today and dropped 8 shots over the entire match, like over 10 stages. So
he's a beast.
Like, he's incredible to watch.
And John Gingrich won the last match at East Elgin, only dropping 2 shots the entire day. So these are the margins we're talking about. It's not just because we're trying to be like a bunch of whiny crybabies, but it's just what we were processing in our mind.
Yeah, for sure. Perfect. And then so then we moved on to stage 6, which is titled Elevated. And this was off a series of spools, so varying heights of spools, and then one on its side. And this was 3 targets, a uni-pig, which I had no idea what it was until I looked through my scope. Apparently it's a pig-unicorn combo thing.
It's a pig with a horn on it.
All I know is it's really small, which is not what I picture when I think of a pig or a unicorn, but I guess you put them together and they shrink.
It's a mythical creature.
Yeah, I don't know.
It does whatever it's worth.
So that was at 105 yards, and a 6-inch circle at 144, and an 8-inch diamond at 178. And this was first position, was 1 shot at the uni. Was this the one that was 1 shot at the uni pig?
Yeah, so really easy. So a lot of people struggle mentally how to shoot this, like keeping the sequence in order. It's actually really easy. You have 3 targets, 1, 2, and 3. That's how many rounds you shoot at each one in each position.
Right.
First position, 1 once. Second position, 1 once, 2 twice.
Yeah.
Third position, 1 once, 2 twice, 3 times. So pretty straightforward, but you kind of have to learn these mental tricks to kind of keep everything in order. Some of the new shooters, we had to explain the stage to them a couple times, to kind of. But once you kind of understand these sequences, it just becomes more natural. Yeah,
pro tip, if you're a new shooter, get on glass and spot and watch. If there's a couple people shooting ahead of you, watch what they do and spot, and it really helps to commit the sequence to memory, and it makes you feel a whole lot more prepared when it's your turn to go up and shoot.
Even if you're not the official spotter for that stage, just get on glass and follow along in the stage, because as soon as you're behind the scope, it becomes like second nature. You've already seen it done.
You've seen it done a few times.
This stage,
how did you do on this one?
This stage was good for me. I believe I cleaned it again. And I also used the tripod. I'm going to be saying that a lot today. I used a tripod, not ashamed to say it. But it was tricky actually, because I was looking at these props, and the way these spools were put on the table or whatever it was, the platform, they were quite far in. and you need room to work with the tripod behind your front support. So I purposely, maybe I'll put in a clip, maybe I won't, whatever, just watch the match recap video. But my Arca mounted bag was all the way at the front of the chassis, because you want to put the front of the chassis down and have enough room to manipulate the tripod. If it was right back where the balance point is, the tripod would be running into the barricade. It would be a complete disaster. So
this is where it stands out that like I don't train with I don't train enough as it is, but but I definitely don't train with a tripod as often as I should for the amount that I tend to grab it during a match. But it's so counterintuitive. Like the way I have my rifle balance set up, like I'm very, very happy with it. It's like very stable, but I have that Arca mounted, that KevFat bag slid all the way back to the mag well.
Because normally that's where you
would want it, and so it's so like awkward for me to like slide that bag so far forward, but in any case,
using a tripod, your rifle balance doesn't matter, and that's what you need to realize.
Exactly.
You put the bag where it works best for the stage.
You
forget about the rest. The downside of that is the contingency plan of a tripod not working is you ditch the tripod.
Right.
When you ditch the tripod, you got to make sure you adjust that bag properly.
Otherwise you're euchred. You're done.
Screwed. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So that one, this was one of the stages for me where the switching headwind really kind of caught me, because I was holding, I believe, off the right side. I was holding off one side or the other, and it completely switched partway through, which caused me to. I think I ended up dropping. I think I might have dropped 3 shots on this on this stage. But yeah, it was that switching headwind, and then a pretty that uni pig thing was pretty small.
It's basically like maybe 2 inches tall and 3 inches wide. It's pretty small.
It's a tiny target for what we were doing. But
you got to be really careful. You think you have some room to play with because all the paint was taken off it, basically. But you had to be really steady before taking a shot on that uni pig.
So that was stage 6. Stage 7. This one was really cool. This one was called Down the Pipe.
Wait a second. It's intermission time.
Oh.
So, little fun part of this video. We figured we'd break up the match after the first half of the stages to do a little bit of Would You Rather shooting edition.
Oh yeah.
So I got my wife here, Dory. She has some questions you're going to read out to us, and we're going to choose which one we'd rather deal with. All right, what's the first one?
Where's your mic? Can they hear me?
That's fine. I'll just repeat it once you say it.
Okay.
Just speak up.
Am I doing all 12 questions?
No, do one at a time. Or you mean, we'll do them all now.
Yeah,
just do them all now. This is the fun part of the video.
So first one. Would you rather shoot a match with only a 5-pound trigger pull or... Sorry.
Would you rather shoot a match with a 5-pound trigger pull
or at highest magnification?
Which is usually around 25 or 30 in your case, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. So the trigger pound is option 1. 5-pound trigger pull is option 1. And this magnification max is option 2. So think about which one you want, and we'll say it at the same time.
Okay, count down from 3.
You count down, Dory. And it's 1, 2, 3, and then we say.
Okay.
Okay. All right, Dory, count us down.
3, 2, 1.
Trigger pull.
Yeah, okay, same one.
Yeah,
same. And so I'll give my reasoning first. Basically, it's about fundamentals. If your fundamentals are good, up to like a pretty ridiculous trigger pull, it shouldn't really throw you off that much.
Yeah.
Whereas the scope magnification, it's more about target acquisition and not being like tunnel focused.
Yeah.
So to me, it would definitely be the 5-pound, even though it's horrible.
Yeah, 5 pounds. It would be awful. But
it would be awful.
I agree. In this game, in like the PRS style shooting, especially in Adam's matches, he tends to spread the targets out quite a bit.
Yeah.
And in a backdrop like today, a really busy backdrop, having like I know my scope, if it was at max magnification, would be like 30 power. Like
that would be ridiculous.
it'd be,
You're just like looking.
yeah, it would be really difficult to.
The other thing is spotting, like your trace,
yeah.
any splash. Like you're just way too zoomed in.
Well, and you lose a lot of your reticle holdover if you're a holdover person, right? So you would really diminish your ability to hold over.
Yeah,
so
I think at 30 times you only see like 2.5.
Yeah. So I think with proper fundamentals, proper trigger squeeze, even noodle hands here could probably squeeze a 5-pound trigger.
I got good grip strength.
Maybe not the last stage.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Next one.
All right, number 2. Would you rather shoot a match with 5-round mags or only holdovers?
All right. So option 1 is shoot a match with 5-round mags, or exclusively only use holdovers. So no dialing. Well, I guess you could dial for your first one.
Yeah. Okay. Are we to do the countdown thing again?
Yeah, let's do it.
right.
Wait, I need to actually think about this one. What was the first one again? Oh, 5-round mags.
Yeah.
Okay, I know mine.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Holdovers.
Oh, so we're different this time.
Yeah.
All right, I'll let you say why first.
So for me, and this is like a new thing this year, I've been really, I say I don't train that often, but I have spent a lot of time learning the reticle in my scope.
Nice. Yeah.
Because last year I found I was timing out a lot, and in some of the matches where there's multiple targets and multiple back and forth, I was timing out because I was constantly dialing every target. So I spent the time to learn my reticle. 5-round mags and having to do like frequent mag changes, I don't know, I think I have like butterfingers, and I just worry about like dropping mags. And
well, the other thing is he's running a CZ and an ACC, so you
I got fat fingers, and it's like I have like modified mag extensions, courtesy of Kevin Goyette, so that I can fit my finger up into the mag well to release. So I figured it out, but it's still not something I want to have to do. It would be every single stage you would have to do a mag change.
Exactly, every
not
stage.
interested.
Sometimes twice.
Not interested.
So that's actually interesting. So I always preach about make sure you know how to hold over. And in the first year I was doing this sport, I almost always held over. Starting last year, probably halfway through the season, I started dialing almost everything. And it's a lot more intuitive to get on target when you've dialed for it, but you got to be quick. I still like to hold over. Like today I was doing a mix. Well, I always do a mix, but I do dial more than I hold these days, where before it was the opposite. However, when it comes to mag changes, especially on a Voodoo, it's real quick because you don't have to dig into the mag. It's just a click it, and then your other hand puts the other mag in. So I think that's why I wouldn't mind running it with 5-round mags.
Plus, you also think it looks cool to have like a bunch of stuff around your waist with all those mags.
I got my Batman
belt. Yeah, your battle belt.
Battle belt.
You got to make use of that real estate.
And the John Wick reload is cool too.
Yeah.
The one thing that would probably get me is I would forget to reload. Like I would shoot 5 and then it would go click, and I would remember to. But as long as I would remember to, I don't think it'd be a big hindrance anyway. I also do shoot pretty quick, which is sometimes my weakness. But I do have time to spare most stages, so doing a 2-second reload is not the worst.
2-second reload?
Yeah, just bam!
Fancy guy over here.
I probably need a few more mag pouches, but... All right, next one.
All right, number 3. Would you rather your length of pole be 1 inch too short or 1 inch too long?
What a great question. Who made these? Geniuses.
Me, of course.
Absolute geniuses.
Yeah, that's a really good one. And this is assuming the scope is positioned for your proper length of pull. So you're having eye box issues, basically. Okay, so length of pull, or short or long. That's the 2 options. All right, count us down. Do you know your...
Yeah, I think I know what I would do.
All right.
3, 2, 1.
Long,
yeah. Sorry, I was...
Yeah, that's all good. He's just
delayed. No, long for sure.
All right, I'll let you give your reasoning first.
I think, like, for me to, like, if it was long and I had to, like, kind of slide my head forward, I just think it would be more comfortable sliding my head forward to get my eye box than trying to, like, I feel like I could still have really good control over the rifle while sliding my face forward to compensate for that long length of pull and still get my eye box So yeah, long, 100%.
All right, yeah, that's basically my reasoning as well. But then, like, basically, it's always easier to stretch out a bit than crunch in. And if it was too short, a lot of the time to get the proper eye relief, you wouldn't have any shoulder pressure. And I like to shoot with quite a bit of shoulder pressure, so I'd rather push in more than have it off my shoulder, basically. Yeah. All right, next one.
But you should just have a properly fitting chassis, and then you don't have to worry about it.
Just get a chassis that has all the adjustments, and you'll thank us later.
And dial it in.
Again, shop at gobigtactical.com. All right, next one.
Number 4, would you rather shoot in plus 35 or negative 35 degrees Celsius?
So it's funny because Kolan and I have done both.
Yeah.
The hottest match we ever shot at, Kestrels were registering at 42 degrees Celsius. And it was humid.
Right.
Like, our summers get not just hot, but also humid, which is a whole different story. Mm-hmm. We've also shot at minus 40 at some stupid RPS winter matches.
Yeah.
So we've had both extremes. So, okay, let's pick. So cold or hot?
Okay, I know what I want. I know what I would do.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Hot.
Yeah, being cold is miserable. And the risk of frostbite is a real issue.
So it's for me, it's actually more about equipment performance.
Yeah, exactly.
In the cold, like, we saw it, you know, other than guys' bodies breaking down in the cold, like, just the rifles just didn't function. Like, we were having, you know, firing pins were like moving at a snail's pace. We were getting tons of light strikes.
My group size drop.
Yeah, and
Rimfire ammo does funny things. Anything under like 10 degrees, minus 10 degrees.
And then the other piece too is, I'm way more comfortable shooting like in a thin jersey than in, like, you know, the Michelin Man suit. Like, I'm fluffy enough as it is, and you add on like all these layers. It's I don't like it.
As uncomfortable as that 40 degree Avonmore match was, the winter match was more uncomfortable, as weird as that sounds.
Mind you, setting up the ice fishing hut with the buddy heater does help. There's
but the cold was painful. At least the heat was just uncomfortable. And again, the equipment functions better in the heat. Actually, speaking of which, though, this is an interesting topic, because living where we live in the climate we have to deal with, our equipment gets subject to crazy temperature extremes. Like, if we lived in, like, whatever, Florida or something, it's nice all year round relatively. So if you really want to test equipment to the max, give it to us here in Ottawa, and we'll test it for you. Our stuff has to run minus 30 all the way to plus 30 and beyond.
And we run matches. Well, we don't run them, but our fearless match director runs matches 12 months out of the year. So we're really fortunate to get the opportunity to test our equipment and sort of test our skills in different different weather.
All right, next question.
All right, number 5. Would you rather shoot a switchy 5-mile-per-hour wind or consistent full value 15 miles per hour?
All right, so the two options are
switchy or full value.
Switchy little wind, like 5, or full value 15 to 20. All right, Dory, count us down.
3, 2, 1.
Switch.
Full. Nice.
That's interesting. So I'll let you go first.
Okay. I have a harder time, and I mean, maybe I should want to shoot in twitchy wind just to learn and practice better. But picking up wind changes on the fly, I still am like learning how to like read the environment on the clock and try to like adjust.
So when it's a full direction, you just know.
Yeah,
it's right to left.
When it's full value, it's right to left.
Don't have to
will actually occasionally even bracket wind and dial for the middle of the bracket.
Oh yeah, okay.
If it's truly a consistent full value wind, I will dial.
So here's a question: when you dial like that, do you still do it when you have multiple distances to engage? Because you'd have to hold a little bit more.
Yeah. Okay. So usually it depends on the course of fire. If the targets are generous enough to kind of hold the difference as you go further out, I'll kind of dial like middle of the bracket.
I see. And just
for me, and this is also like, I got into the habit of doing this last year when I wasn't as familiar with that new reticle, because I was just like trying to figure out like holdovers and holding wind. So this just sort of took out one sort of mental process that I didn't have to think about. So I did that. Now, like a 5 mile an hour headwind, again, depending on the course of fire and the size of the targets, if the targets can kind of hold that bracket, then it's less of a concern, I guess.
So the thing about switchy winds, and when we're talking about mildly windy conditions, like, you know, not crazy windy, is that you do have to pick a side, because it will blow you off target. But if you pick the wrong side and it's switchy, then you're completely off, right? And it is quite frustrating. The reason why I picked switchy is because, well, my win at Avonmore was switchy, and today my second place was switchy, and it was more than 5 mile per hour winds. So I think I am improving in my wind calls on the spot.
Right.
But I actually struggle with high winds, even if it's a consistent direction, because it gets in my head having to hold off plate too much, and that is a weakness of mine. But when we're getting, you know, targets beyond 200 yards and you're having to hold 2-3 mils, you know, 3.5 mils, it's very uncomfortable for me to actually have to do that in my ready.
Well, yeah, like Palmerston, right? Like that long range stage in Palmerston this year was like almost a 5 mil wind hold on the full size IPSC at like 300 and whatever it was.
Yeah, so that, like,
which is like totally an uncomfortable feeling to, you know, look like you're shooting into nothing, and
exactly.
It's rewarding when you make an impact, though.
It's true. Very true.
All right, next question.
Next one.
All right. Would you rather shoot this match with only an Arca rail bag or a barricade bag?
Okay, so Arca rail or barricade bag?
For this particular match?
We're talking about the match we just shot today. Which one would you have rather been stuck with? And yeah, okay. All right. So count us down, Dory.
3, 2, 1.
Barricade.
Arca rail. Wow. Another disagreement between us. So I'll go first. It's easy for me because I was using the tripod all day. And the reason why Kevin and I designed the Arca rail mounted,
was for
affectionately named KevFad bag, was for tripod usage.
Fair.
Kevin is a big tripod user, or was.
Womp,
and,
womp.
And I like to use it when I can, you know, when it works for me. And that bag, there's too many things to keep track of if you're just using a regular bag. Having it attached to your rifle while using the tripod is a big help. And today, again, that was what saved my match.
Yeah.
So.
You know what? You make like very valid points. I would almost consider changing my answer. I think the reason I went with the barricade bag for today's course of fire in particular was being able to get your rifle up high enough to get over the crop was relevant on more than one occasion today specifically. And so having that barricade bag that you could kind of like put it up on its end and get a little bit more height, it's probably a weak reason to pick a barricade bag over the Arca bag, because I think I only used it twice.
But we do use our barricade bags as rear support as well, and there were a couple of stages today where we had to use rear bag support, which isn't very common. But you know, if I didn't have a normal barricade bag, I wouldn't have any rear support in those like prone stages and stuff.
Moral of the story: have more than one bag.
Buy things.
Yeah.
GoBigTactical.com.
Buy more stuff.
All right. Next.
Okay. Would you rather shoot a rifle that is significantly front heavy or significantly back heavy?
Okay. Yeah. So the option is
front or back.
A rifle that goes like this or goes like that. Yeah. Front or back. Count us. Wait. Let me think of mine first. Okay. I know it. Count us down.
3, 2, 1.
Front.
Oh my goodness. We did not script this, by the way. This is live. That's interesting. All right, you go first.
Friends?
Yeah, we can scream about so much stuff.
No, just we're demonstrating the versatility of shooting sport.
Yeah, we compliment each other.
All right, so I would prefer a front heavy rifle.
Interesting.
Because I found before I had a balanced rifle and I had a like rear heavy rifle, I found I was constantly like wrestling with the buttstock of the rifle on a barricade, and kind of like trying to hold it up almost. And so, I mean, I've never shot a like ridiculously front heavy rifle, but I'm imagining that it would be easier to manage forward weight on a barricade than it would rear weight. Maybe I'm crazy.
So I have the exact same reasoning, but for the opposite. I think it'd be more difficult when the rifle's tipping away from you. Because when I first built my CZ, it was too back heavy, and it was still manageable. If it was the same forward weight, A, offhand stages would suck, and B, I feel like on a barricade, it feels like it's being pulled away from you too much.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just my...
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but I mean, again,
Moral of the story: balance
get a
your
balanced
rifle.
All right, next.
Okay, would you rather shoot with a light rain all day or heavy snow all day?
All right, so the options are light rain or heavy snow. All right. That's actually a tough one, but I have my answer.
I have mine
down.
3, 2, 1.
Rain. Yeah.
Finally, one we agree on.
All right, go ahead. Why rain or why not snow?
Basically, light snow is ideal in terms of precipitation. Heavy snow, it gets everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, because heavy snow blows around as well too, so it'll get on your lens and stuff. And it's worse than rain because it's cold, and so it doesn't only like stick; it like sticks to it. And if you try and like blow it off with your breath, things fog up. You know, like really bad. You have the potential of snow getting into your action, freezing up, which we've seen.
We've seen that.
Light rain is manageable because you just put a hat on and forget about it. Like your rifle will function.
Yeah.
And if it's not heavy rain, you can still see through your optics.
Yeah. Heavy snow sucks for visibility.
Yeah.
Heavy snow tends to be wet snow too, so you just get wet and cold and miserable a whole lot faster.
AKA second day Battle Hill 2020.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, next question.
Would you rather be able to see your trace all day in strong wind, or not being able to see trace or splash but calm wind conditions?
Okay, so the options are be able to see your bullet flight in wind, or not be able to see flight or splash in calmer conditions. Let's say 5 mile per hour winds.
Okay.
So trace or no trace. That's the option. All right, count us down.
3, 2, 1.
No trace.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Why?
Well, it's pretty obvious. If it's like 5 miles per hour, you're very rarely holding off plate, and then you can just base your corrections on how the plate swings.
Yeah.
If it was like really windy conditions and you can't see any splash, then it's like a guessing game almost, because you're kind of assuming you held too much or too little, and you're just trying to get a hit on the target so you can adjust based on that.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I trust my ballistics. I trust that my rifle shoots where I'm pointing it, and so I'd be able to make corrections based on plate movement. Yeah.
Okay, would you rather shoot a match with a Savage Mark II, which is the base model, or shoot with your rifle but with a Diamondback Tactical?
All right, so question is, shoot a match with base model Savage Mark II with
whatever optic you
your
want.
current optic, or your current rifle, but you have to use a Diamondback Tactical. And we're talking
either Savage or Diamondback.
Yeah, exactly. Savage or Diamondback. All right. Let me actually think about this. All right, count me down.
3, 2, 1.
Diamondback.
Nice. Yeah, and so it's funny because I don't really think the Savage is a huge, like in terms of its accuracy, it's fine.
It's reliability though.
It's reliability and its balance.
Yeah.
It's probably what's going to bite you. And the Diamondback is actually a good scope.
Yeah, I think we both started with a Diamondback.
Exactly. As long as you can
as long as you can do math in sixes.
Or just write it down so you understand it.
And you don't mind. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the Diamondback Tactical.
I agree.
It's a great scope, especially if you're just getting into it.
100%.
And you're not really sure. It's definitely a good starting point. Hold their value. So
next.
All right.
How many more do we got?
You got 2 more.
All right, 2 more. Let's go.
Okay.
Would you rather shoot with a 6-pound rifle or a 30-pound rifle?
So light or heavy? I think I know your answer, and I think I know mine.
You ready, Colin?
Yeah.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Heavy.
Light.
Heavy all day long.
So I just built a lightweight CZ457 for Dory in one of the Greyburst chassis. I think it weighs like 7.5 pounds or something. And I shot an ORPS match with it and got second, I think. And I found it fine. It doesn't stabilize as quickly, and you have to work a little bit harder to make sure you're nice and steady. But a really, really heavy rifle like Pascal's Deuce, sounds wrong. Pascal's Ultimatum Deuce is 24 pounds, I think.
Yeah.
And I was playing around with it, and it is literally uncomfortable for me to run through a stage with it. Like I would struggle to like move efficiently. So that's me.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think that like the heaviest possible is better, but I would prefer a heavier rifle over a lighter rifle. I don't struggle to move a heavy rifle, and I love the way
Settles.
like a 20-some pound rifle settles on the bag, and you can there's no recoil felt. You can basically watch your bullet flight, which
yeah. If I didn't have to move the rifle, I would also choose a heavy rifle.
Yeah.
But in a PRS environment, I just think it would be too much of a drag for me
yeah.
personally.
I mean, ask me again at the next ORPS offhand stage, and I can guarantee you, if I can wipe my own tears away, I'll tell you that I'd prefer a lighter rifle. But
Next.
Okay, very last question. Would you rather shoot against Yannick or Grant?
Grant Sparling versus Yannick Sebleblanc. I mean, we've shot against both of them before, but if it was like a 1v1, who do you think you'd do better against? And this is obviously not a serious question.
no.
But all right, let's go.
3, 2, 1.
Neither.
Bingo.
Yeah.
All right.
No, that's not true. I don't obviously competing against it. It's not really competing for me. But watching both of them shoot, having watched both of them shoot,
It's impressive.
yeah, it's impressive to watch. And if you pay enough attention, you can surely learn something from watching both of them. Yannick's ability to read wind and make corrections, and Grant's focus laser focus is really really
it's
awesome
funny
to
'cause
watch.
I've never actually squatted with either of them.
No, me
Even
either.
just having quick conversations with Yannick, you can just, they know everything they need to do, and they do it well.
They're also both super nice guys.
Hey, yeah, they're super nice guys. Yannick gave me really good tips back a year ago, I guess, in terms of some ballistic stuff, and he's been helping me with centerfire. And Grant, every time I see him shoot, I just watch him, and it's just like a machine. Just everything super consistent. You were talking about he does everything the exact same. So yeah, very dialed in shooters. Their wind calls are amazing, and the most impressive thing about them is their consistency. It's not just that they're great shooters; is that when they show up to a match, they're probably gonna podium. They're very, very consistent.
Yeah.
So
For
yeah,
sure.
they're great guys. Love shooting with everyone. So all right,
that was fun.
yeah, let's go back to the course of fire.
back to the course of fire. So stage 7 is where we left off. So titled Down the Pipe.
Yeah.
This was a 3 targets, a 1/3 dipstick, a 10-inch circle, and a 2/3 dipstick, ranging from 149, 194, and then 240 yards. So this was like a long, yeah, me too. My voice is like toast. Thanks. So this is like a long, corrugated pipe that was kind of on an upward-ish angle, and so you had to get inside the pipe and shoot at this series of targets, and then transition to the top and shoot in reverse order, I think it was. So a lot of fun. I did fairly well. I think I only dropped 1 on this.
I dropped 3 on this stage, and I remember the tricky thing about shooting through tubes or in a confined space is you can't see or feel the wind.
Yeah.
Right. So it purposely puts you in sort of a separation from the environment.
Yeah.
And that really makes you judge your wind call based on what you're seeing, basically just in front of the target. And I was a bit unfortunate because as soon as I went into the tube to shoot, the wind
whipped up.
And I did see the foliage start kind of whipping around a little bit more, but I wasn't holding enough. As soon as I got out onto the top, I was like, oh, okay, I know what the issue was.
Yeah.
And then I was making hits, so that, it is what it is.
Yeah, no, it was good. Wear your ear pro when you're shooting inside the, wear your ear pro all the time.
Yeah.
But definitely shooting inside the pipe, it's friggin' loud.
Yeah, any confined space, man, your pro goes in.
Yeah. 7, 8. Okay, so stage 8, titled Barrels, and
There's 3 barrels in it?
yeah, 3 barrels, 2 vertical and 1 on its side.
Yeah.
And this was again 3 targets, 4-inch circle at 122, 6-inch circle at 161, and a 10-inch circle at 204. And I can't for the life of me remember Oh, this was the one that it was T1 with 1 in transition, then T1 with 1, T2 with 2.
Oh.
Anyway.
Whatever. Anyway, I already gave you the hack for that.
Yeah. This one I use my bipod and the tripod as rear support.
Yeah. And the shooting order had changed, so he shot it before I did. And the reason why he used the bipod was because we were looking at the barricade. Let me get off this, it's really loud. And the reason why he used the bipod and the tripod is because we were looking at the targets from the barricade level. Yeah. And if we had just had the bag, you would have been shooting
through grass. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
yeah. And you cleaned it, right? I think I cleaned it.
I think maybe I did. Open that.
So what was really cool about this stage for me, I saw that the bipod tripod combo worked for Kolan, so I decided to give it a shot. I was a little bit weary about it because I have never actually used a bipod with the tripod before, but it's stable. I mean, it's just front support you need. So
the quint pod.
The quint pod. Oh, actually, let me backtrack. It just reminds me, talking about the bipod. The tube stage. One thing about the Skypod is you can unlock the pan. So there's a little lever you can pull down and then you can pan on top of the bipod. So I wanted to do that in the tube because I wanted a little bit of pan. Make sure the tension of your pan is set correctly because I had no tension in it. So as soon as I went into the tube, my bipod went 90 degrees.
Oh no.
And I had to fix it up, so that was a disaster.
Catastrophe.
Yeah.
All right, next one was stage 9. This was called long range points. This was the long range stage for the day.
What was the furthest target?
Furthest target was a full lipstick at 328 yards.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So this one was shot. It wasn't a troop line because they weren't in a line at all. It was this like big panning back and forth motion off of like a pointy top of a fence post.
Yeah.
And so you did the engagement, one shot on each.
It was near to far both times.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of dialing.
Yeah. So we both did the same. Well, you cleaned it, and then I copied your strategy because it worked well, and then you're just better than me, so I didn't clean it.
So I was actually like pretty late to shoot this in our squad. It was like the 7th shooter or something.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of time to absorb and learn from other shooters' experience, and I saw, I think everyone in front of me was timing out, and they were really struggling with target acquisition. So the tip the tip Kolan gave you earlier to get on glass and make sure you know exactly where everything is. I made sure I knew exactly where the targets were, the numbers that were above them because they weren't sequential.
They were not sequential. That's right.
Yeah, and exactly what was behind them. So if I got lost, I knew what to look for in the background.
Exactly. I shot last, and I spotted for every shooter up until like 2 people. No. I had the order right. I just my phone fell out of my little holder.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah. So the target, funny enough, that gave shooters the most issue was actually the first target, and the reason why was because there was the group of targets here, and then the first one was like way off to the left.
Right.
But you wouldn't have known that unless you for sure concentrated and say, okay, this is the first target. I know I'm just going to put my rifle down and get on the target.
Totally.
So, and you were really crunched for time because you had to dial or hold something different for each sequential target.
Yeah. So what was your plan of attack?
Exactly. So again, I knew I wanted to use the tripod just because I was shooting horribly that day, fundamentally, and I wanted to limit excessive wasting of time, having to dial too much or whatever. So I dialed for my first target engagement, and I held for the second and third target. Mm-hmm. Then I dialed for the 4th and 5th, and I did that same on both positions. So that saved me dialing twice, basically.
Yeah.
I don't know how much time I had left on the clock after the stage.
5 seconds.
Exactly. So I don't think I would have finished if I hadn't done that. I also used my trick where I used my little masking tape around my turret.
Yeah.
And so basically I have like a 3mm thick masking tape. I put it around the turret and I mark on the turret where I need to go. So I don't have to match up numbers with the turret. I can just look at the turret and spin. As long as I don't get lost, it worked pretty well. Yeah. So I was really happy that my plan was solid. I executed it well, and it ended with a clean stage. So
yeah, and I timed out with 1 shot left to go.
Yeah. So you were pretty good.
Yeah. So I ended up with a 7. So I dropped 2 of the shots that I did take, and then timed out and didn't get the 3rd one off.
That stage really pushed us to the limits of what was possible, to do in a minute 45.
Yeah, totally. All right. Next one was stage 10 from the blind. So this was it was 2 targets, a 6-inch diamond at 140 and a 1/3 dipstick at 176, and this was shot out of like an elevated hunting blind wagon thing.
Yeah.
So you started off inside the blind, and you were sort of shooting out through a window, but the floor was sloped funny.
Yeah,
so it was
weird.
It was kind of weird, yeah. It was a bit awkward to get a good position. Definitely a challenge for the tripod, I think.
And funny enough, the way it was positioned into the headwind, it was the opposite of the tube. The tube separated you completely from the environment. This one funneled the wind into your face.
Yeah.
So what you were feeling was this is like a 15-mile-per-hour wind. It's like a 5. Completely different.
Yeah.
So the wind bit a lot of people on the stage. I dropped 3 points, I want to say, on the stage. And I tried to use the tripod again, but I didn't realize that it had a sloped angle to the floor.
Right.
So the leg I was actually using for rear support got all caught up. It wasn't ideal, but still managed to do it somehow. And I'm pretty sure I used holdovers on the stage as well, because it was like a nice round number.
Yeah, it was like a 2.5 and 4.5, so you just hold 2.
Yeah,
I did the same thing. Yeah. I think I dropped 4 shots on this one, and again, it was wind funneling in.
Funnel effect.
Thinking I had to hold for a hurricane, and there was no wind.
The other thing that was really interesting about the entire day was we could use, when the sun was out, it wasn't behind a cloud, we could see mirage pretty well, but the mirage would lie to you, because the mirage back behind the targets at the tree line was going one way, but if you played with your focus, you can see it going all sorts of ways through the field. Yeah. So even though the mirage can be a good indicator, you need to know when you can trust it, when you shouldn't trust it.
Well, that was the other thing, shooting, it was like a crop of winter wheat, and so you could watch the wind kind of moving the crop in different directions through the whole shooting column, so it was interesting. All right, so and then we went back to stage 1 to finish the day. This one was titled Weak. It was 2 targets, a friggin' gopher at 110 yards, I think it was, and then a 6-inch diamond at 165. So this was shot in the prone with a bipod and a rear bag. You shot, I think it was alternating T1, T2, T1, T2 strong side, and then you had to switch to weak side, so your support side, shoulder, eye, and hand.
Which got some people.
It's not just your shoulder, you got everything on the support side. And then it was 2 shots on T1, 2 on T2, and then back to your strong side for 1 and 1. And I think I dropped 1 shot on this one. And it was on the gopher,
Yeah, it's really nice to finish up the day strong. So I cleaned it. It actually was tricky too, because from the prone, 2 things. First off, because of the terrain, you could hardly see the second target. So unfortunately, the first guinea pigs that went in our squad told everyone else, hey, make sure your bipod basically as tall as it can go. Or else you're aiming at the number, right? And
so hoping to drop it in on the target.
And hoping to arc it into the target. So everyone was kind of raised up higher than they normally would be, which means using your rear bag isn't really natural. The other thing was we could see a lot of wind, but since we're shooting from prone beside all the crops, you didn't actually have to deal with the wind because you're shooting under the wind line. So knowing that, I was just holding dead center for everything. And I'm naturally left eye dominant, so looking through my scope, my left eye is actually a little easier. I mean, it still feels awkward because I'm using the wrong side of my body, but my target acquisition, my left eye is okay. So it was pretty straightforward for me anyway.
Yeah, I find shooting in the prone, specifically shooting support side, if I square up really nicely behind my rifle, it's really just a matter of I don't even have to move my body. I just kind of move it to the other side of my head, the buttstock, right? Where some guys kind of lay in the prone sort of on an angle behind their rifle, and then they have to do this weird kind of hip shimmy thing to get over. So
the other tip I think you kind of mentioned it, but don't move your rifle. Because your rifle's already pointed at the target. If you need to switch, leave your rifle there, move your body.
Yeah,
because that way, as soon as you get on glass, it's somewhere.
It's right there,
Some guys were trying to move the rifle over to their left side, and then they have to do the entire acquisition process over again. So
I always find it weird shooting on support side. Like when I shoot on my strong side, my left hand like naturally goes up.
Yeah.
Like I can't wait for my Baker wings to show up because it's going to be like a perfect spot to land my.
But when you're surprised, you're like, I don't know what to do with my right hand.
Yeah, and like I just like it just sort of like sits awkwardly. Like I don't know. It's,
No, I haven't done this in a while, but I used to practice complete stages support side just to get used to it.
Yeah.
And
I don't know.
you kind of learn to do that, like, or if you're prone, it goes to the bag.
I just feel like the butler from Scary Movie, like with my strong hand. Yeah, I don't know where to do with this thing.
Yeah, so
just plunk it down.
I mean, you only drop 1 point. So,
yeah. I mean, obviously, I figured out what to do with it, but I think I actually dropped my point strong side too, like a dope idiot.
Yeah. Anyway, the match overall was awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
Of Fire was good.
Yeah.
Really interesting, challenging enough. Like, what's nice about these NRS matches is the consistency of the difficulty. You know what to expect, and you know it's going to be competitive because the top shooters, you kind of know what hit percentage you're aiming for, and it can play mind games on you. So, you know what it did to me in the morning. I was totally crushed. I think Kolan he asked if I was okay at one point.
Yeah, a couple times actually. I was worried about you.
But I mean, I was okay. I just wanted to make sure like I was just dealing with it properly.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to brush it off and then like make the same mistakes. You want to know what you did wrong, but not let it affect you.
Yeah.
So that was kind of what I was processing while he was asking me if I was okay.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate. You know, that's what your buddies are there for. And the recovery for me was the best thing of the day. Like, and getting second place was the cherry on top.
Super impressive mental management and being able to recover from a bit of a rough start.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, I was genuinely surprised because 2 stages I dropped 4 points, and another 2 stages I dropped 3 points. So in my mind, I was really happy with the recovery, but the second or third, whatever, fourth place, I was happy if I would be top 10. So getting second place, it shows that, again, if you're struggling that day with wind, there's probably everyone else is struggling the same as you. So never give up. Make sure you recover as best as you can and just keep pushing. Yeah. So.
Nice.
Anything else?
I don't think so. Another good match in the books.
How long has this thing been?
What are we doing? Like we got like 3 weeks before our next one?
Yeah, so in a month-ish from now, we'll be back in this area somewhere at Caledonia.
Yeah.
For the Beam match. I don't know if they're calling it the Beam match this year.
I think it's the KDEX Classic.
Canadian Classic.
That's right, sponsored by KDEX. So it'll be another good match, and then we're into the 2-day matches in Magnetawan, or what's left. So
and then the CRPS finale is coming up early this year.
Oh yeah, that's right.
July, I think.
Avonmore, 2-day in Avonmore. So lots of shooting. Feels like every second weekend we're
driving 7 hours somewhere, which is a lot of fun, and maybe some centerfire in our near future.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about that quick?
Yeah, let's do it. So, if you follow my channel, you already know my 6.5 Creedmoor is built, ready to go. I have the ammo. Unfortunately, there might be caliber restrictions because we're shooting at a military range.
Yeah. Luckily
for me, I have a .223 barrel and bolt head for that rifle ready to go. I just need to find ammo for it. So that's what I'll be shooting. And
I've got a Tika T3 in a MBT XRS chassis with an Athlon Ares ETR, which may get swapped out for my Cronus for the match. I haven't decided yet. But both are good optics, so might just leave things as they are. Really hoping that 6.5 will be allowed within the caliber restrictions. I'm really happy with that rifle. It was actually a prize that I won. It started off as a Tika T3 UPR.
That's right, in the gray stock.
And I swapped it. I got a brake and everything on it. The only thing it's missing is a sweet IBI barrel. So Ryan, if you're listening,
he's not listening.
He's not listening.
It's an hour and 50 minutes, and no one's listening.
Yeah, there's nobody listening.
Yeah, but no, I think centerfire is gonna be a lot of fun. And the cool part is, Kolan and I started shooting PRS rimfire without any centerfire, in this discipline. So what we want to do is, obviously, we're going to get ready for the match in terms of our dope and making sure the rifles are functioning. But we're not going to really shoot off barricade centerfire. We're going to just go straight into the centerfire PRS match and see how much of our rimfire experience translates to our performance at a centerfire PRS match.
Yeah, which I mean, I think we're both anticipating the challenges of like learning recoil management.
That's it.
But really, like understanding ballistics and being able to read wind and being able to build a stable position. I mean, my centerfire rifle weighs less than my rimfire rifle does. So,
well, another thing about building positions is it becomes second nature for us. Like now, we don't think about how to build a position; we just know how to build. However, if we've been doing it wrong, we'll quickly find out with a centerfire because recoil management is the one thing, right, that separates rimfire and centerfire. And there's, talking to our buddies that shoot centerfire, there are some things you can get away with rimfire that wouldn't work on a centerfire.
Yeah, totally.
So we want to see, again, how we would fare and how we would, implement what we've learned in rimfire in the past 2.5 years and see how we do in a centerfire match. And I look forward to that. It'll be pretty awesome regardless of how well we do, because it's just for fun anyway.
Yeah, and it's not that far from us, like a 2-hour drive from home, so not a grueling 7-hour hike.
So,
maybe we'll do another one of these afterwards and talk about how sore our shoulders are.
Ooh, my shoulders. No, 6'5" is not that bad.
No.
So anyway, I think that's about it.
I think that's about it.
If you made it to the end of the video, thank you. We appreciate it. We hope that you enjoyed our in-depth post-match debrief. Thanks again for calling.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for driving me.
Yeah, no worries.
And
always a pleasure.
Introducing me to the world of Korean cuisine. That was or Asian cuisine, really. Yeah.
Boom.
A lot of fun. Great weekend.
Yeah, amazing weekend. Thanks again, everyone. Adam, Danny, everyone else. Sponsors.
All the sponsors.
So anyway, see you later. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.